They didn't want to honk the horn, so I wanted to be nice in case they were coming here. I did that, didn't keep it going. So anyway, so if we could, we'll call the meeting to order. I guess we'll call it what, 7:08. So we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mike, if you could lead us off, seeing how you dropped your hat. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. They're not going to be here. That's got to change. Do it. I mean, so. Save it. I'll do that. That's okay. That's the fourth one. I'll do it. You do the question. Does anyone need an agenda just so you have what's not going on and what's going on? Might be a little bit different. Yeah, I had paid on the bottom, so as always, I always tend to. No, I got extra. You might as well use them because you know what? I print them out, so we might as well have them. If nothing else, you can use the back for scrap paper.
Thank you, Mark.
It's a special one.
No, I know, I sent it out early, and I noticed they had a typo at the bottom, so that's September in the next meeting. So I changed it. But no. Okay. So, anyone had a chance to look over the minutes that Tina sent out? Any corrections, changes, modifications, improvements? Any questions? The motion to accept the minutes as presented? Moved, second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Tina will gladly trade places for the weekend. Okay. Okay, so. He's got pens. These pens? Oh, look at that. Yeah, Pete's got new pens. Awesome. You know what that means? Everyone has to make a donation. That's what that is. That's how you write your check and you hand out a pen.
I was going to say that you get a 25-cent pen if you make a $25 donation, but
That's right.
hey,
Okay.
you can steal one anyway.
Now, Tom Green has a conflict. He always has a conflict in certain months with his Knights of Columbus, so he's going to try to get that changed. But what we do have is he did send over his financial report, and our good friend and Vice President Tom Bruno will read the GHADA financial report, and I'll handle the 4th of July portion. I know what's going on in that. So if you want to go ahead and go through that.
So
Tom?
on the checking account, there was a beginning balance of $6,724.77. There were 3 contributions for a total of $75 and interest for 14 cents, which brought it to $6,137.24. Oh, no.
Yeah, 6,000.
No, there was a transfer from the 4th of July account to pay for the 4th of July expenses. It added in another $6,137.24 for total credits of $6,212.38. And then debits were 4th of July donation, $200, Hockessin Fire Company donation, $200, Silver Bullet Wireless, which is the website, $360, and the final 4th of July expenses with 10 checks was $8,100.75 for total debits of $8,860.75 and an ending balance of $4,076.40 on the checking account.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, what we did is we moved all of the GHADA funds into checking because getting a new account set up under the new banking regulations, you have to bring your firstborn, name your dog's first puppy, and the 15th place you lived, and the 4th girl you dated in high school. It's really seriously difficult. So we decided, for the sake of revenue that we're under the gun of getting things done, we would make the savings account the 4th of July and the checking GHADA. And because we can't write checks out of the savings, we transfer the funds into GHADA and then write the checks. Tom has it all well documented, and he's been doing a great job, and I thank him because that was one thing I did not want to have to do on top of trying to orchestrate the 4th of July. And I want to thank Danny and the fire company for everything they did, because without their help and having done everything, it would have been a bigger nightmare than it was when I found out last week of March that Kenny wasn't doing it anymore. So my joke is every time I see Kenny, I say, Kenny, have I told you I hate you lately? So it came off nicely and did well. From the standpoint of the 4th of July, and I'll go through that, we started out on June 1st, and this is a 3-month report basically, June, July, and August. We started out with $15,276.20 in the opening balance after we started fundraising. And then we spent the funds to go out for the balance of the fireworks and so forth. And where is my other page that he gave me? Because that doesn't look like the one I found, so I'm looking at it.
That's what's missing.
That's what, yep, there's another print area missing. So, long and short, we're sitting on just a little, right around 40,000 in the 4th of July fireworks fund. We ended up with a lot of people that said they would donate, and it took them months to get us their donations afterwards, but they've started to come through. And there's actually even one more check that's coming in from one of the bigger donors, bigger corporate sponsors, so it could be another $1,000 coming in. So we actually went from not having any money to where we did very well, and I want to thank all the local businesses and individuals that did that. And we'll be getting out IRS charitable deduction slips, because we are a 501c3, so fully deductible, as we said during the parade. Give us 200, tell the IRS you gave us 400. We don't care. Take that deduction. A couple of tax accountants didn't think that was funny. One thinks, I can't do that, I'm a tax accountant. So,
It's such a big standard deduction that most of us
Yeah.
can't take.
Well, you can.
You can take 300 and some dollars.
600 per married couple on top of your standard deduction. I just got off the phone with my tax accountant driving here. So you as individuals, you can take your standard deduction, but no matter what, $600 in donations per married couple a year. So that's on top of your standard $25,000 deduction. Contact your tax accountant or CPA for legal and tax advice. Disclaimer. But you can deduct that. So again, thanking everybody. So we've ended up, I think the balance of the account, I don't have the second page for some reason. Do you have it, Tom? I don't know why it does that.
Nobody,
I wrote it down.
if it wasn't in, there was no second page in it.
It was. But there it is. You got it, because it doesn't print the way it is. It does something funny with the thing. So long and short, we ended up with $49,665.37, and we had another $21,702 that came out. Our ending balance, after all was said and done, we're sitting on $43,239.30 going into 2022, which is good, because that's just about what the fireworks are going to cost next year. We were able to renegotiate them to last year's prices, because they were going to go up to about $42,000 just for the fireworks. So that worked out very well, but we will still have to do some fundraising starting in January, February next year, and get that up a little bit so we're in good shape. But and one of those things is we did have some state and county donations. I say state funding that we won't see again, and the county we hope will do it again. But those will be kind of telltale for 2 years from now. We'll see how that works out. So that's kind of everything. So I guess we can make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Trish moves. Anyone want to second it? Second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Those opposed? Oh, you're recording this too. Are you putting this on the historics?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, great.
If I have your permission, I have your permission, right?
I'll try to be less funny then.
Oh no, that it's great. It makes for some nice entertainment.
And thank you, Tom, for doing that, because I didn't have that second page, so I'm glad you captured those notes. All right, and that kind of leads into the President's report. The 4th of July came off very well. From everything that I've heard and talked to people, everyone was very happy that we were back with sort of everything. The parade was a big hit. There were a lot of people. I know the fire company had spent days cleaning up the engines to get everything ready. We had a lot of other fire companies, volunteer fire companies show up. The county mounted patrol was wonderful. national anthem gal from the Cap Callaway School did a wonderful job. And the morning relay events went very well, a lot of participation from neighborhoods. And we think we'll get more next year because now it's back and there's sort of that camaraderie and a little bit of a competitive spirit with the various neighborhoods wanting to lay claim to the fastest kids in Hockessin. So we hope to see more of that, and we are going to look at expanding back to what we had pre-COVID, which may be some of the family-friendly events during the day between the parade and the fireworks, and maybe the beer garden will come back, or we have yet to figure out if we're going to do that and where it would be again, but some of those things are in the planning for next year. The one thing we will need is more volunteers for the parade. If you have never participated in watching a parade go down the hill, once they're on Old Lancaster Pike, it's pretty much flawless. Getting everybody onto Old Lancaster Pike is like trying to herd cats. And all you have is, and I had them, we made up Marshall cans with a plastic pipe that looked colorful and wearing a safety vest, but trying to get people, especially politicians, seem to be very keen on where they go in the parade. So it was kind of fun up at the parking lot to try to get them not to all go at once, but it looked like a traffic jam going into a tunnel, 6 lanes into one. Everybody was trying to jockey for position, but thankfully everyone yelled loud up there. We had radios, and it worked out. But we will need more people to help on the parade, especially. We probably need about 10 to 12 people. We ended up having about 6 people not show up because they all came down with COVID a couple days before. So we lost a whole bunch of people and didn't know until that day when they checked again, we're still positive. So we ended up pulling it off with about 4 people, and we really needed 10 to 12.
Make tickets for your space in the parade.
Well, we tried to have,
No ticket, you can't get in.
you know, that nobody shows up. We tried doing a reservation online. It worked out pretty well, but it was really like trying to herd cats. So, but it went off well, and I have to say everybody was very polite and cordial. Once we told them, you gotta wait, we'll tell you when to go, and here's where you are. And almost everybody in the parade made a donation as well, which helped us get to our goal. So that's the one thing. I think just next year, and Dan, I hope you don't go anywhere because we're going to rely on you again to sort of help us with all the fun things that we found out we need to do at the last minute to get everything done. And again, we just need a few more volunteers. It's only for a couple hours on that day. So, yes, Pete.
The only complaint that I heard about the whole event was that there weren't enough school marching bands.
Yep.
So people were looking for the school marching bands.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of schools are, the kids are all down at the shore probably by the 4th of July, so.
Yeah, we contacted every local school and begged and Joel offered to pay to have some show up, and they just, after school's out, it was very difficult to get them in. McCain, Charter, Cap Callaway, what's the one up, DuPont. Yeah, AI was the same way. They did not have a very big band this year, as we found out. So it was one of those things where we did reach out.
They've never been.
Yep.
It's their home.
Yep. So, I mean, we'll see what we can do now that we're planning a little earlier. Next year, we'll see if we can't make sure to get out to them right away and schedule that. But that was, yeah, you're right. That was absolutely one of the things. We did get the School of Rock, which I kind of was nice to have that. At least we had some music in there. So we will try to do that better next year.
Do you have any floats that the band is, for a different kind of a band other than marching band? Do you have any flatbeds that you can?
No, all the flatbed farm trailers went away when John McGrellis had his auction. He sold all of them. 90% of the vehicles
I
are
was
gone.
thinking there's a lot of old people who get together at Ocean Lifelong Learning Institute, and as long as you don't make a march, they'll probably be happy and play for you.
I'm sure they can find somebody with a truck and a trailer somewhere. There's plenty of them around. So, okay. The update on the Hockessin master plan, Hockessin Station master plan. There was a focus group meeting last week where we got the focus group back together to look at a variance that was going to be needed by the county. The concise notes are that they're basically reducing the overall number of units, but they're increasing the number of townhomes slightly on the reconfiguration plan. It doesn't look any different than the plans you've seen. They're just the way they're having to shift things, but there is actually an increase in open space by, I think it's around 10%. So we're up over 75% open space where we're in the 60s. So we're actually in excess, and I know you were taking notes, we're in excess of the county code on the plan. And again, I think the overall reduction was around 12 or 14 units.
187 to 147.
Thank you, sir. 187 to 147. So 40.
40 is total, or did I understand you say you're having
Yeah,
less
say again, I
single-family
know what that
homes
was.
and more townhomes?
They reduced the total. By law, they could put 187 units in there. We're reducing that, I think, to 147 units. But they are increasing the number of, they're decreasing the number of single house units and increasing the number of townhouse units within that change. So overall, there's a reduction in the number of units.
And if you look at the plan, because of the blue line stream that goes through, which is kind of the dividing line between where the single-family homes are and the townhomes, twins, and others, a lot of that is to do with the environmental conditions and open space, but they did end up increasing the open space. I think it's 74.8, but just rounded to 75%.
And the other major issue is the county is forcing them to preserve the Marshall House on the road.
Yes. Right, their 154 was their anticipated plan, allowed to do 187, but they're at 147. And there is also a sewer easement along the back between Village of Manly and the entire property where the county will eventually put in a new sewer line back there. It's never been done in all these years, but it has been planned. As a matter of fact, if you ever went over to the auction house, you used to see the concrete piping sitting out there in different fittings. That was all part of that was there. It was all staged, but never been done. So that will be done as part of it. Has nothing to do with this plan, but it's an easement, so there's more open space being preserved as part of the easement as well. So it's not, there's nothing detrimental unless you look at, consider townhomes, but that's what's selling. And they are also putting in, what is it now?
It's 106.
Not that, what's the name they call it used to be workforce housing, but now it's,
It's medium price housing or something.
yeah, something like
Moderately
priced housing, or dwelling units, moderately priced dwelling units.
Moderately priced housing ordinance.
Yeah, and that gives more of the housing in there to be in line with
It has to be 15%.
15% of the median income for the area, which would account for public safety, librarians, public workers, and so
15%
forth.
of the total has to be, it's moderately priced.
Yeah, but it's a percentage also of the median price income of the area.
Keep in mind what the price points are. The lowest price outside of this special arrangement, the lowest price is, I think, 550,000. The upper price is 650,000. You're gonna have to add on, so most of the houses in there are probably going to be
Yeah, there were some in the upper
750,000, 800,000.
There's some of the ones that were in the upper floors, but again, a lot of that is Mr. Shinechi
There
explained.
were no upper floors, 550 is the lowest price.
Are you sure? Because I recall him saying somewhere in 4. Well, we'll see. Prices are going to change based on the market, because right now, all the increases are labor and materials that have impacted everybody. I mean, a lot of builders have been asking for, a moderate recession just to get workforce prices down and supplies down. So we'll see, next thing that will happen is they will come back to the focus group and then to GHADA with their final record plan to be filed, but there should be no surprises. This is really the last of regulatory requirements to look at the open space and the unit counts.
There's over 50% open space in Newport.
So,
And they have 106 two-story and three-story townhomes, 26 first
legislators here. I kind of didn't think there would be because it is the election season, so they're probably out door knocking until it gets dark. Mike Smith did tell me he may stop by. He's out and about in the area. And if we do see anybody, we're ready for them. Beyond that, the land use report, not a whole lot has changed over the summer, but I have been in contact with some of the folks that have the projects that have been on the list. So just the NDF master plan in Yorkland, not a whole lot has been going on. They're mostly doing interconnections out at the former NDF site. If you look, they've constructed a pump house, and now they're digging a new vault to connect everything up to the lines they've been running up Yorkland Road. They were supposed to be done by midsummer this year. Guess what? That didn't happen. So it has slowed considerably for the rest of the lines along Yorkland, but they are hooking up all of the infrastructure at the site by NBF, which is right across the post office. Today they were excavating for the interceptor connection points to those existing lines and the new lines. And I'm sure some of that is also the sewer lines as well. So that will continue on, I'm sure, until the weather makes them have to pause. Valley Road in Little Baltimore, that Del Dock project, that was the widening project along Valley Road in Little Baltimore. They were supposed to have a meeting in June. It did not happen. They did not have the follow-up meeting, and we're still waiting for the update. This is for the getting the data and reports that was from the Chinese American Center and Century Engineering for the drainage study that will basically take care of, look at taking care of the runoff problems from Valley Road, the Hack, Lantana Square, the CACC, and Hockessin Hunt. And they have not set another meeting date for that. So once we find that out, we'll put it out in an email to everyone that's involved and wants to see it. And everyone always asks, well, when's it going to go down to this area? And the guys have said, look, we have to start somewhere. So they're starting where the problem sort of begins at, and they're going to work their way down through. And hopefully this will get expanded through bond bill from the state in the future. Nothing on 701 Valley Road. That's the brick ranch in front of the former Rubella's property. Still waiting demolition and site prep. I think at some point they're going to run up against their 5-year limit of not having done anything, and they may have to refile. I'm not sure. 520 Valley Road. That's the one that's the blank parcel where they have a buy right for a 10,000 square foot building. They still advertise it as such, that they can build a 10,000 foot building, but they're a little coy. They don't say it's residential or that it's a daycare or something like that that fits the zoning, but that's what it would have to be unless they seek a rezoning, and there's been nothing filed. The perk remediation project, basically we know the well monitoring has moved across to Lancaster Pike at the former Exxon gas station, and that will lead into the next one, which is, my right plan here, make sure I have it on there. Oh, I dropped it off. It is the former Exxon station. We had talked about them and Richardson having a project where they would purchase 2 parcels and connect them, so there'll be access from Yorkland Road and Lancaster Pike, and there'll be a coffee shop at the former Exxon gas station building repurposed, and then a new building constructed where Richardson's nursery currently is, and there'll be storefronts and shops in there, and that plant is back alive again, and nothing has changed yet. And the folks at Diamond State Management, DSM, do a lot of leasing at Stone Mill and others around here. They will come before us to show us their final plan once they have sort of the intents and leases signed. But that will be what's going in there. So there will be some new storefronts right across from where you are, Bob, at Harvest Market, right where Richardson's is. It'll connect from Northland over to Lancaster, and it'll be right in, right out, heading west, and then full access on Northland Road, left or right. That way they don't have to worry about the traffic signal, and that will connect the 2 properties from Richardson's to the former Exxon station. You can probably guess what the coffee shop might be based on the last time we talked about this. It's probably one of the big national chains or one of the local chains, the regional chains, though it could be a Bruja, Bucks, Donuts or something. You never know, one of the 3. So that's what's happening there. Working our way down to Valley Grove. The former Camarana mushroom farm. If you happen in down Valley Road in a while, you see the houses are starting to sprout up pretty quickly and getting finished out. So they should be continuing to build now as the home sales are still pretty healthy in the area. Right now, they've finished up a few, or finishing up a few, and others have been, foundations have been poured. And again, the total there was 56 homes. Harmony and Hockessin going up the hill, right across from Mr. Bruno. If you saw, they're on Lancaster Pike. They're doing some work up there. I believe they're putting in the turn lane at the top of the hill just before McGovern. Is that what you've been seeing them do? Yeah, no?
No, they're running the sewer line from the chiropractic center up that alleyway right along the pike to the top of the hill and then
To join it. Okay.
And they're now putting all the
Okay, so they'll
network in the site.
Okay, then they will be doing, because there is a deeded easement that DelDOT has had for years at the top of Lancaster Pike, just before McGovern Road, so there will be a dedicated turn lane onto McGovern, so Tom will be able to get into his house a little safer. Yeah, getting out is the problem, but you can get in. It's like Hotel California. You can check in, you just can't check out. So that will happen, and then you have to cross two or three lanes of traffic to make a left. Western Assisted Living, that's the one on Limestone Road, 6042 and 6060. There were some requested variants that were supported by GHADA, and almost every one of the newest neighbors did voice support. Even the opponent, they gave him access to ongoing landscape plan filings, and he seems to be happy with that. I think Mike and others know who the gentleman was. He's been at the meetings that we've all gone to, and he just thinks there ought to be more of everything. He doesn't understand why they can't put trees in a 5-foot strip between the road and the building, and you just don't do that. But they did give him access and gave him some topography drawings, and he seemed to be more accepting of that. And he lives quite a ways off. I think the tip of his property, to drop to a point, touches the back of the properties that are being redeveloped. And that was one that, again, the parcel shows no disruption at the back of it at all. But there will be all sorts of, as we call them, GHADA concessions, downward lighting, which is now a county standard, increased buffering landscaping, privacy fences where they can't do landscaping, along with that. And I know the fire marshal had done some work on it to give access. There's a one access side just so they can get the equipment in there should there ever be a problem. And that was some of the reason for these variances, is things had to be shifted to accommodate all the safety requirements from the state and the fire marshal's office. Which is interesting, because the fire marshal looks at every plan that gets put through county council to look at to make sure that, hey, that's nice that you're putting a building up, but what if there's a problem and we have to go in there? So they even look at neighborhoods, like how big is that cul-de-sac, what's the radius of these streets, and so forth, so they can get their equipment in there. And it's actually a very good thing, because they end up doing a lot of what we like to see for neighborhoods to make them better in the overall design. So just a little aside, but it's kind of neat to see that it's not just done in the vacuum between just some folks at land use and the developer, and then the civic group out here that tries to make things better. There's actually others that are looking at sound development as well. Lantana Square, they're still waiting for that engineering study from the CAC and the engineering firm, Century Engineering. They are in with the state on that stormwater study, and they have provided all of their data and engineering studies that they did when they did some of their improvements in Lantana, and they're looking forward to being part of that overall solution when it comes around, and have committed to doing whatever they can to help mitigate that. I know my neighborhood, we've offered even do offsets for across the street, because we have a large open stormwater basin, and we could do a ton of things if we could get the county to allow us to redesign it. Something I've been preaching for years. You've got older neighborhoods with massive amounts of area, but they have to be what's called as-built whenever they fail or need work. You have to put them back the way they were in the 1980s. And as you know from coming to GHADA, we have much higher tech solutions for stormwater now, as evidenced by right outside the fire hall, with rain gardens and infiltration tanks and so forth, and better plantings. But the county hasn't yet gone back in time to let older neighborhoods improve those stormwater designs. Something we're fighting for. I do it personally. I think it's something that eventually they'll come around to. And this might be one of the areas that helps us get that through the county ordinances and get it changed, because the study is going to show where the problems are and possible ways to mitigate that. And I know my neighborhood, we met with the folks at Lantana and CACC and said, look, if we can help in any way, we're willing to do so. If you can help us get the county to allow us to redesign and re-engineer our stormwater system. And heck, we were the first neighbor to sign up for stormwater, and Sea Leslie the first one to sign up for a redesign of stormwaters built in the 1980s. Those 1982 Pintos, they're still high-tech and state-of-the-art, right? That's why everybody has one. That's my joke. Everyone remembers the explodes on impact Pinto? So we can do better than the 1980 designs. I think that covers just about everything that's going on. So thank you for that. I think, Pete, we're up to you now. We still don't see any elected officials here. So if you want to give us an update on the Historic Society and what's been going on other than these new fancy writing instruments you have.
Hey, isn't that great? Darlene had a bunch of pencils made, and I thought, hey, pens are a little bit more functional. Yeah, so I made a bunch of pens. So it turned out to be a pretty decent price for 500 pens. So now instead of going to the bank and stealing their pens for different occasions, yeah, I let people take ours. So I think I wore Darlene out today. Darlene was cleaning windows and over helping the garden club water over at the Tweeds Tavern. So she was supposed to be here tonight. She had something she wanted to show everybody, but I'll let that be a secret, and she can show you maybe at the next meeting. But she's pretty proud of her. I think she's going to donate something to the museum that she has from her family. As far as new updates, we have a new treasurer, and hopefully we'll have Excel spreadsheets with our financial information listed from month to month, like we're supposed to have, so that I can keep track of where our expenditures are being done and where we're making money. So that would be nice. We also have a new volunteer member who is keeping track of our membership forms. So we'll also have an Excel spreadsheet for that also. So that will make things easier going forward because we do have about 70 new members. So as we increase that membership list, that will make things a lot easier as we start to have member meetings going forward. On page 2, right in the middle of the page, we applied for a bunch of grants. We did not get our $100,000 grant. We didn't really have that applied properly. We didn't have all of the support from the community and our politicians as we needed, but we did receive a $12,000 grant from the state and a $2,500 grant from Newcastle County, and those are for increasing security over at the museum. And then that will allow us to have better artifacts and better displays for people to see. So that'll be a big benefit for the community. There's also a $50,000 grant for small museums. So that's my next bunch of work that I have to do for the next few months is get that application sent in and talk with a bunch of people from that group. So that's going to be quite a bit of work for me. There was a Dew Point Rotary meeting. Were you aware of that? Dew
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a pretty interesting meeting. They discussed noise meter readings and things like that. There were about 4 residents who were complaining about noise from Dew Point. So that has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with the Historical Society. It was just kind of a local event that I was kind of adding in there. Let's see. We should have an interesting article in Tweeds Tavern.
Have they ruled on that?
They did not make a ruling at the night of that hearing, and the person that was in charge said, you guys should kind of come to an agreement by yourselves, because they said neither side is going to like my agreement, what I choose to do. The residents were also saying that the walking path that goes behind the building there is part of the state park, and that they should not allow drinking outside because of that. So they were kind of reaching for ways to have them limiting their outside drinking, and I think that was pretty much shot down.
Yeah, that's all private property, not owned at all by the state. As a matter of fact, that easement from the state for all those walking paths, whenever they put in a walking path along private property, the cross-access easements fully states under the state regulations if it should become a detriment or hindrance to the business may actually have it removed or blocked off. And at the same point, the business cannot block it if it is not causing a problem. So I always tell people, be careful what you wish for, because those paths can all disappear based on a simple governmental requirement that they not impede the business. And these people were trying to say that is all parkland, and therefore they should put a fence right up against their building and limit where they can have outdoor activities. Just to let you know, it was the longest meeting I've ever attended, other than a council meeting that went past midnight. The commissioner spent 45 minutes explaining the rules, and most meetings for the ABC last about an hour. So she used up 45 minutes to explain the rules and how she ruled on the body of law, and that emotions had no bearing, and the people that were against it spent an hour and a half doing emotional pleas and offered no hard evidence about noise levels. They never took a decibel reading in 3 years, and the Dew Point Brewing Company has not had a single violation, except they did not pay their pre-license fee 1 year on time because it was delayed by mail, but they did it, and they were off by 2 days. That was the only thing that they had, but it wasn't a violation.
So
But
the
they
bottom
never had
line
a
is,
single one.
nothing's changed, there's no ruling.
No, they're meeting with them actually this week, and after that, then they will probably proceed to the next phase, which will be back to the commissioner for them to rule, and then they'll probably go through the judicial system if that ruling is, both will probably end up going that route. As Pete said, the commissioner indicated that nobody would be happy with her decision, but just as an aside, I've always found it interesting when a government agency has total control of violations and judicial hearings, and they never provided a copy of any of the documentation when their license was granted. They've lost it. I FOIA'd it, and they cannot produce it. The News Journal FOIA'd it, Freedom of Information Act request. They cannot produce it. They can't even produce a copy of the ads that the Office of ABC publishes in the paper 30 days prior to a hearing. And the agendas I did get are incorrect. They don't even show the other hearing applicant, which was Kelly Loganhouse that night.
Who can't produce?
The Office of ABC. They have none of the paperwork that was submitted to them. They've lost it all. So it's really kind of disheartening. I mean, I would not want to have to be a business that relies on that as the only way of operating. And some of the things they cited don't even apply to a microbrewery or brewery. They apply to tap houses and things and restaurants. So it's, you can look it up. There's no definition for live entertainment. There's no definition for amplified music, and there's no definition for outdoor speakers. And yet those are the three things that are in question. And you can't find them in the Office of ABC's 4 pages of definitions. They don't exist. So it's interesting. But yeah, they lost everything, and they never even sent them. They had to do what's called a conforming motion, where the new commissioner had to interpret what the old commissioner did. I was at that original hearing, and there was Dew Point in the first part of the meeting, and then Kelly's Loganhouse, the second half of the meeting. Both were there for the identical license, and Kelly Loganhouse got theirs and has theirs, and Dew Point never got theirs, and they're trying to rule different. So it's very bizarre, and I think that's why it's not over until it gets to the actual legal system, which they have a right to once it works its way through the Office of Alcohol Beverage Control and Explosives. I think that's the new thing when they have state office. So yeah, so it should be interesting.
And what I've seen just from driving by, that it's more of a family event, that it looks like almost people at the beach. You know, people bring umbrellas and lawn chairs and kind of hang out with their children. So I've seen lots of children there dancing around to the music. So somebody was arguing, they said that their children can enjoy the nature going in the park because of the noise of the bluegrass music or something like that. And then somebody else posted videos of the kids dancing in front of the stage. So yeah, I really don't think it's that loud. But yeah, I don't live a block away either. So I have no say in it.
My office is on top of the hill, and I stop around on Friday nights, and I've never seen an issue, but that's just me.
Yeah, we're really neutral on that. We don't have anything to say. But yeah, our local historian, Scott Palmer, he is writing an article on Tweed's Tavern for the Mill Creek Hunter blog. If you've never seen his Mill Creek Hunter blog, his historical articles are really fascinating. He's a great writer and a great historian. He really researches things well and makes things very, very fun to read. Let's see, and future events? There's a historic review board meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And those are sometimes interesting because you get a little insight into zoning and other historic aspects also. People will give you photos of the inside of their house and explain the historic details of buildings. So that sometimes gets interesting. There's a business association meeting. I guess I'll announce that tomorrow also, 6:30. Social at 6:30, and then the meeting starts at 7. That's in Lambourne Library. You have to be a Hockessin Business Association member to attend. So that's not open to the public. And then on, I believe that's Wednesday, the Division of Cultural and Historic Affairs is having I don't know if they've had this before, but they're having a Zoom meeting just explaining the process of getting on the National Historic Register. So I think there's 2 separate meetings. I don't know if they're the same or different, but there's one at 1 to 2 p.m. and then one at 6:30 to 7:30. They're probably the same thing, just allowing for different people to attend. And then a few more historic review board meetings in the future in October. But then you can read the rest. We don't have that much more going on, but I've been busy working all summer long while a lot of the organizations were off. Darlene keeps me busy, and so I had her busy today. I guess I wore her out and she's still sleeping. So yeah, she was playing with the patio today. Any questions? Yeah. People are always asking, when we're having another meeting, and we just haven't had a meeting in over a year. And I really don't want to have people not attend because of COVID who really want to. So it's something that we can't do virtual. We really have to have an in-person meeting. So I'm thinking a few meet and greets to show people the buildings and the jobs that we need done and what we need help with as far as volunteer work. But if we get a $50,000 museum grant, we're definitely going to need some help with volunteers and setting up displays and things. So that would be really great for our building.
Did you see the email from the state about grants in kind? The grants for next year on the bond bill are open. I think it's the second week of December they have to be in by. There's different categories depending on what it is. You may want to reach out to Mike Smith on that. He sent an email out if you're not on his email list. I know, like for the fire company, you guys do that all the time, right? Don't you do that?
And he's the one that recommended the grant that we got, the community reinvestment. So we got the $12,000.
So the new ones for 2023 are out now, but you have to do it before the end of this year, or you're going to miss the cycle for another year. So I was actually considering something for maybe 4th of July committee to see if we could get some of the needed supplies through grant and aid, because they're going to pay the money to everyone else. Might as well apply if we qualify as a nonprofit. And there's ones for 501c3s, which the Historic Society is, which GHADA is. So technically, your dues are tax deductible because we don't actually put out a magazine, we don't give out pens, so we don't have anything of value. So that leads me to the segue of Tom Green will be sending out dues reminders between now and next meeting. So if you do make a donation, it is tax deductible as well. So that helps us with all the things we need to do. It pays for the website, the P.O. box, which if you haven't done the P.O. box lately, the price seems to be going up every year. I don't know what it is. I guess it seems to be, it's crazy. It goes up and up. Well, they didn't triple it. We only paid for 6 months because for some reason Tom forgot to pay for it for the full year, so we didn't pay it twice. But
maybe discussions for 4th of July or other events, 50-50 raffle. So I know they're doing that up in the church, and we did it for the 4th of July, and it's just so easy to do. So yeah, you just collect money and get off 50% of it to somebody, and you just
do it at the Village games.
Yeah. Hey.
All right. So thank you, Pete. Does anybody have any old business they want to bring up or go through? Any new business? Anything happening? I know we're going to have next month. We're going to have Will Napco will be here with a presentation on what they call the 2050 Transportation Plan update, which is interesting. A lot of work goes into that. It includes everything from walking, biking, hiking paths, all the transportation issues up and down the state and into Pennsylvania and Maryland as well. So there'll be a lot of information on that. They'll be here next month. And of course, anything that comes up for any of the projects that we spoke about, there may be some of those where those project folks want to come in and show what's going on.
Mark?
Some upcoming things, yes, Bob?
Do you have any word on when they're planning on finishing the Grant Road project, or Grant Ave project?
I don't have that. I can, look, that's under state, right, under Delta for that one? I will find out from Delta. Grant Road. I think that's where they were widening the bridge, putting in a new bridge.
Yeah, it's a big project.
I will find out from Delta where that's at. To me, I always wonder why they just don't make a prefab bridge like they did down here at the end of Old Lancaster Pike, and just bring it in, drop it in, basically have it in place in one day and then button it up the next day. But what do I know? I'm not a road engineer. Yeah.
If you're funding it to from scratch, but doing that, to drop it in doesn't work.
Yes.
We have an easement in our neighborhood that the builder put in between two houses to go to Hickory Hill, and it's starting to crumble. Is there any way we can get money for that?
Is that just a roadway easement, or is that a
It's a path,
path, a walking path?
right? Or riding bicycles.
Okay, that is a good question, because there are some funds available either through the state or the county. So I would email Janet, Mike, and Laura Sturgeon. I just saw an email from her of all the things she was helping some other neighborhoods do. You can always tell when it's election season, you get a lot more emails. But that would be the only thing, because if it's an asphalt trail, that would require them to like roto-mill it or just tear it up and repave it or something, or turn it into a crushed stone pathway or whatever. But yeah, I would start there. Otherwise, I can tell you, I do not know. There's probably nothing under bond bill for that, unless CTF funds maybe.
Gene, is that, you say it's an easement, so you think
The
it's an
builder
official
put it in
easement?
as an easement.
I mean, it's great, but it's always an argument with my wife, because she doesn't think we should walk through it. It seems like we should be able to walk through it. There's somebody's backyard, so clearly somebody put it in there. They're not done.
Yeah, the builder,
You're right between two houses, like,
Yes.
is it private property that goes across?
no, it's
Community
listed as
property?
easement.
Okay.
That's how it's listed.
Okay. Email me the addresses where it's between, like, house this and house that, so I can look it up on the county parcel site, because it should show if it's a recorded easement, either for the community, either one of the communities, or if it's a private easement between those two houses. But it could be that that's what they did. And then, county parcel view shows everything. You put the boxes on the left-hand side as to, you want to see if it's a tax ditch, if it's a blue line stream, there's all sorts of pull-downs. Oh yeah, it's got a lot of information. You can spend hours on it, you'll learn all sorts of stuff about land use. Yeah, it'll show. And the other thing too, if you know the people that are on either side of it, ask them to get their parcel plan or property survey, because it will show on their individual surveys if it's on their land or if it was an actually deeded strip that doesn't belong to
Yeah, somebody
either.
looks up the original plan for the neighborhood.
Okay.
It's listed as an easement.
Okay. But each individual homeowner will they'll show that easement on their plan, and we'll have a reference note to it. So we may be able to find more details. But if you email that, we'll figure it out with land use. We can always call county land use.
Okay.
Go from there. So that would be land use. Okay. What else can we try to not fix? Anything else? Any other new business anyone has? If not, I can say we can get out of Dodge early and call it a night. And see you next month. So, motion to adjourn? Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening and month.
Okay.
Nice seeing you.
Have a good night.
Sure thing, you too.
Yeah, I know. The day really wasn't
the roof